Hey guys, and welcome back to another Big Al's Big Weapon video. And in this video today you'll see me, I'll be showing you how to buff out any scratches that might appear on any of your historical weapons that you might have. Because believe it or not, even though steel is very hard, especially high carbon steel that you'll find in functional blades, instead of, like, for example, kitchen blades that are made out of stainless steel, they do scratch. And if you are, wanting a perfect presentation piece, for example, but still want to use it, you're going to need to know how to get rid of those scratches. And it can be a little bit harder than you think to start off with. When you first see them, you kind of panic. You go, oh no, my beautiful blade, it's got a nasty scratch across it. Well, this guide that I'm going to film here is well, it's for you. It's going to show you how to look after your weaponry and how to keep them in top presentation order. Now, this is the barrier that you've seen on a number of different videos at the moment that I have. It's a Damascus steel or pattern-welded steel. The true terminology is actually pattern-welded. Damascus steel doesn't exist anymore, but it's just the sort of the coin phrase that is used these days to describe pattern-welded steel. I use this blade every day, cutting up meat and bone and offal for my dog to feed him, and as a result, it does, especially with the bones, see quite a lot of basic wear and tear. Now, it doesn't lose its edge, rarely needs sharpening, but when I do sharpen it, that tends to be when the scratches will appear on your blade. And it's the same that if you guys collect any historical weapons yourselves, or any form of hunting knives or anything along those lines, then you will notice that when you use a whetstone, you can actually scratch part of the surface of your blade if you're not 100% accurate with a whetstone, which is very easy to do. I mean, we're not all Supermen, with 100% precision, and so this is something that is very real and something that will definitely happen. Just one word of note, the next video that I'll be filming will be a video that I didn't actually know I had to film. I, as you see, have and I've just shone a light on it, hopefully my torch is still there. This is pattern-welded Damascus steel, okay? And normally pattern-welded steel will look like this. It will have a pattern of some kind. This is a newer blade that hasn't been used. And if I show you now, you can see, you can see the pattern across it. Absolutely beautiful, depending on the pattern that you have. I do apologise, guys, sometimes it's a little bit hard to show with the lighting here, but there you go. You can pick up the pattern really well there on that part of the blade, and it's obviously on both sides. Now, that pattern is not etched on with acid or cut, manually scratched onto the blade. It's there because of the manufacturing process, because the steel has been folded. That blade has been folded and is pattern-welded steel, but because of my rigorous cleaning of it, because I have to clean it daily, obviously working with raw meat, I've actually taken the gradient or the hue difference between the different areas, and it makes it very hard to see the pattern. Now, I can see it with the naked eye, although it's not that obvious. It is there, and I can feel it with my finger. I can feel where the folds are, but you can't see it on camera. So what I'm going to do in the next video is show you how to get that pattern back using a variety of different chemicals. So I hope you enjoy that one. But this video, as I say, is all about how to buff your blades so that they are as shiny as possible. Now, the first thing to do is to make sure that the blade is clean. Make sure there's no moisture on there, and of course, if you store your blades correctly, as do I, you will be storing your blades with a coat of oil over the top, and that oil might get in the way, well, will probably get in the way of some of the cleaning processes that I'm about to do. So I'm going to use some good old-fashioned WD-40, but any sort of anti-grease spray will work, but this is one of the better ones because it's particularly good at getting rid of water. Don't want to get it on the carpet too much, so that's why I've got all these cloths on my sofa. And what I'll do is, after a light spray, is then just rub it down gently, just to get rid of any oil, because this you can't really pick it up on camera, but this blade is absolutely sort of it's covered in a very light layer of oil, but the oil is everywhere. It's all over the blade, and that's to prevent, of course, rusting. But we want to get rid of that temporarily, just so that we can get to the steel underneath as best as possible. Now, I don't know if you can pick this up properly, but you can see there on the hilt, okay, on the guard, okay, you can actually see like what's like a layer of gunk. That's something that happens quite often when you're using oils to protect your blade. Sometimes it accumulates. It's not rust, but it's very, very hard to get rid of under traditional means if you don't know how or what you're doing. I mean, I've used in the past this kind of anti-rust scrubber and things like this, and I just for some reason cannot get rid of the gunk. But I was reading a sword maintenance piece the other day, and it's what I'm going to do now. Is when you have gunk like that on your blade, I mean, unfortunately for me, it's in a really awkward place, right on the hilt. It's on the bottom of the hilts, bottom of the guard as well. So what I'm going to do is, I've tried the WD-40 by itself and a cloth before, but I've never tried it with emery paper, okay, or a scrubber of any form. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try combining the scrubber, okay, or the emery paper if need to be, with the WD-40 and see where I can get from there. Now, the reason I say about the using instead of the scrubber using emery paper is because this is just so hard to get to. I don't know if I can get the scrubber in there, but the first thing to do is if you find any gunk, put WD-40 or a degreasant of similar note onto your blade and scrub away with a very hard sort of wired brush like this, or sponge like this, an anti-rust sponge. And yeah, to be honest, that is actually doing quite a marvellous job at that end. Let me just clean that up. So it's the combination of abrasive forces. The combination of abrasive forces with the WD-40 can actually see that gunk cleared up, which was something I never thought of. I was just using one or the other. I wasn't combining the two. That's nice to know that at least I can get rid of those very annoying gunks, because I actually have one, believe it or not. For any of you guys who have seen in my previous videos of the weapons that I have, I actually have a Conan the Barbarian Atlantean sword, which is by no means an historical weapon. So if you're a HEMA practitioner, and a very fundamental one at least, you're not going to like that because it is a fantasy blade. This one's a little bit more stubborn, but it is coming off there. Regardless, it is a very, very big, very well-made blade by windlass forges, and I want to obviously keep it in best of nick. But very, very quickly did I notice that the oil that they'd put on it, which I think was a hand weight oil, when I stored the blade, mocked up the blade, unfortunately, with this brown gunk that I've currently got on this weapon as well. And it's very frustrating to have on what is, in that case, very much a display piece. So it's something obviously I thought I was going to have to live with, but if this works, then fantastic. Now what I will do is if this is working, it's going to take a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on fast speed now, so you can see roughly how long it takes me. And I can't be asked to turn the camera off, because I want to show you the reality of how long looking after your blades can take, be it a very small period of time or a very long period of time. You'd be surprised it doesn't actually take as much time as you think to be able to do it. I mean, for example, let me just give that a little wipe down quickly. This, you saw the gunk on it before. The problem is getting it on camera is sometimes very difficult. You saw the gunk on it before, and as you can see, all that gunk is pretty much gone. It's just I'm a perfectionist, and there's a little bit left in the corner here which I want to get rid of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a nerd, and I'm going to get rid of that last little bit of gunk now, doing my WD-40. Oops, I just sprayed the carpet with WD-40, using my WD-40 emery paper mix. So that was okay, and it will be okay for sort of minor things, but it's not going to be the best, I must admit, for the harder to get rid of pieces of gunk. Emery paper is going to be needed. I use a sort of mid-range coarseness emery paper there. I'm just going to use a coarser one here because I think it will do a better job. I will fast forward it now. Stay tuned though, guys. I'll skip forward to the bit where it stops fast forwarding, and then I'll show you how to polish the blade, which is really what you guys are here for, to see how to get rid of scratches out the blade. But this is a general maintenance video anyway, so you might find this appropriate anyway. So feel free to watch. If not, I'll see you, I don't know how long, probably in a minute's time, once I've finished. Thank you guys. Alright then guys, so I've done a basic job there. There's still a little bit of work left to do. If I wanted to get it 100% perfect, I was going to put it as a wall hanger, but it's more than good enough for me at the moment. You can see some of the shit that's on my hands. I've managed to put off quite a lot of gunk on there. Regards the type of sandpaper, emery paper to use, I would say that you actually do need kind of mix like I've got there, of course, medium and fine grit emery paper, because just using one of them alone does a little bit of something, but when you seem to mix them all up, you tend to get a little bit more of a better finish. It seems to do the job differently. That's all I can say. Each one does a slightly different effect on the blade and helps remove the majority when you combine the emery paper. I'm trying to find something I've got, see if that makes any extra difference. Right, no, it's not there now. Okay, so anyway, I've done a lot of work. I've removed all of the grime and the shit basically that accumulated at the top of the guard, and I've removed most of what's at the bottom of the finger guard. If I can show you, I haven't removed all of it, but as you can see, I mean, I'm being a bit of a perfectionist there. There's not like there's a lot there, and there was half a reasonable amount because that's where obviously the majority of the oil is going to not accumulate. It's going to accumulate mostly around here at the top of the finger guard, but at the bottom of the finger guard, that's where it's not going to get cleaned or polished at any point whatsoever. And if you've got anything dirty on your fingers, it's going to stay there and be applied every time you're using it. So unless you give it a real thorough cleaning every time. So I think that's quite a successful start. So that's removal of the grime. Now for what you're here for. I like that. I can imagine being a teacher. You student, answer the question. Point with a knife. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to show you how to remove scratches and again general little stains that can appear on your blade. There's a couple of little brown marks on my blade that isn't rust. It's just a grime that appeared at the hilt at the bottom of keep calling it hilt at the guard. But most of the grime was on the guard. There's very little grime on the actual blade itself. But what I want to do is I want to remove all these scratches that go down the blade. You probably can't pick it up too much on camera. There's a couple of scratches that are going down the blade. There you go. You can see there. See the scratches? You can see the two lines. Okay. I don't know if there's any on that side. Yeah, there's one there as well. Okay. They're only minor and very fine. Oops. I should really invest in a tripod, shouldn't I? Excuse me 1 second. Once I set my phone back up, so I only film on a phone, guys. So please, I suppose in this case, please like and subscribe, so I can make a bit of money on YouTube and afford a better camera. At least afford a tripod. Anyway, so basically what I'm trying to say is you've seen there the scratches. They come up worse when you put light on them as well. They're not that bad, but I'm a perfectionist and I want these buffed out as much as I possibly can, if not completely removed. Now what you do with that is, sorry, I'm just thirsty, guys. Just thirsty work doing what I was doing. It's basically what you do is you use this exact same techniques that I've just used there to get rid of the grime. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but basically you use a combination of a WD-40 or a degreasant, and you use emery paper starting from coarse and going down to fine to buff out the scratches. Now the way that you use the emery paper is you never go in circles. That's the worst thing to do. You want to go in sort of forward and backward motions or side to side motions, but keep it in the same direction pretty much every time. Now you can do that and you can do that, but you got to do them as two separate motions. You would never just do that in one go. So we'll see what this one can do, and if that gets rid of all the scratches, then great, we won't do that. But if that needs a little bit of sort of sideways motion as well, I'll do that afterwards. So this is going to be the bit where I film it fast forward again, just to say boring you guys, but at least that way you can see what I'm doing and you can see a rough sort of time estimate. So you guys know, the I set it at a times 10 speed. So whatever you see, I'm going 10 times slower than what I'm, you know, it takes me 10 times as long as what it does on here on the video. So it gives you a rough estimate on how long or how quick it takes to do this to your blade. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and just a word of why. I always believe in never doing something just because you're told. Do it because you understand the reasons why. The reasons why we use a degreaser like WD-40. One, it removes the moisture out of the blade, something that's very important for long-term rust prevention. But also we do it because it acts as a lubricant, essentially. So when we put it over the blade, it acts as a lubricant for the emery paper to go over. It improves the emery paper's ability to remove the gunk off the blade, because, well, this is a degreaser and most of that gunk is kind of like a thick oil that's accumulated on the blade. So this helps degrease it, whilst then the abrasive forces get rid of it. But as I say, the lubrication aspect of this prevents you heating up your blade. Okay, so as you use emery paper, obviously you're using friction forces to clean the blade and to hone the blade. And if you're a little bit over vigorous, obviously that the heat from that motion can build up and can heat the blade up and ruin the tempering of the blade, because this blade has been tempered so that it's as hard as possible and won't break on use. But if I was to heat this up, I mean, by hand it's not going to make much of a difference, but it could make some difference, okay? It could weaken the blade and make it easier to break in future, especially doing this repetitively, because this is not something you do once and once only. It's something that you're going to do depending on, I mean, I use this every day, and I'll have to clean this blade like this if I want to keep it in good nick, probably once a month. So over the years you can see how that would break the blade, okay? If you're only doing it once, it's not as important, but that's the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to get on with it, guys, so I'm not going to bore you anymore. I'm going to clean the blade and I'll show you the end results, which I know you probably might not see much of a difference, but hopefully when I shine the light on there, you'll not be able to see any scratches come up, which will be proof that this works. Okay, I'll see you in 1 minute, guys. Well, I'll see you in a few minutes, however long this takes. Okay then guys, so if I just reset up that camera as best as possible. Okay, there's one minor nick still left on it. Or no, I've got rid of it all now. Okay, so as you can see, the scratches that you saw before, there's just a couple of little minor scratches up here, which I don't really want to work on too much, just because it's so close to the edge of the blade. But as comparison to before, where I shone that light down there, you can see those two major scratches, they are completely gone. And as you've seen, I've actually, I could probably get rid of those. I don't even know if they're scratches or it's just, but anyway, the blade has been made into a much more presentable condition. Those scratches have been buffed out. I can't see them with the naked eye. The only ones that I could pick up on then when showing you is there's a couple of little minor scratches up here at the top, at the tip, minor scratches. You can't see them with the naked eye in any way whatsoever. It's only when you shine a very powerful light on there that you can actually notice anything. In theory, I could work on that now if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, because I actually, part of me thinks that's part of the pattern welding, the actual part of the pattern itself, so I don't want to work it too hard. But basically, that worked a treat. That was a lot quicker than I thought, but yeah, I sat on a Barry. That could have hurt. Good thing it was sheathed. So that was a lot quicker than I thought, guys, even though it's taken overall 37 minutes. That's what I've got on my time right here. Obviously, I know some of it will be sped up for you guys, and I shouldn't be using my fingers. Rookie mistake. One, I've just cut my fingers, and two, it's not good for the blade because it does add some moisture. So always make sure you've got lint-free cloths, guys. They're a nuisance in some ways because they stick to emery paper like glue, as you've just seen. But there you go. That is how you sharpen. Sorry, not sharpen. That's how you buff out any scratches that you might have on your blade. Now, the last and final thing to do to improve the presentation of your blade is polish. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be polishing this blade in this video. I've done it in previous videos for you before, using Renaissance polish and for long-term protection, Renaissance wax. I've actually recently purchased this. Okay, I think it's a brand that's only available in the UK, but I might be mistaken on that. But it does say here, by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah, so basically I think this is probably most likely only going to be British only. But if you can get something similar, guys, this is basically just a metal polish, and it's a metal. You can get it as a cream, or you can get it like I've got here as a wadding. So it comes in little pads that then you can just polish your blade with. And this is something that I actually learned from my girlfriend, who's a chef. Used to be a chef before the car crash. And when they used to sharpen the knives, they used to use Brasso to polish their blades and get them really nice and shiny and presentable. But you can see it comes in as a wadding or as a cream. She always used to use the cream, but I thought the wadding would be quite nice and easy to use for something like this, because it's not something I'm going to use that often, because I don't see the point in polishing the blade when I'm using it every day. But the wadding I will be using on, say, my Conan the Atlantean sword, which I never use. Just never use it, not in a functional manner. You can't cut unless I'm cutting the leg off the cow itself. I'm not going to be using my Conan the Atlantean sword. So that, as I say, is the end of the tutorial. Please check out my next video, which is about how to get a pattern back on your pattern-welded steel or your Damascus steel. It's something that I didn't realise happened, that the pattern fades over time. That it's there, it's definitely there, but it fades to the eye because it loses, as I say, the colour differentiation between all the different layers. I'm using my fingers again. Nice one, guys. Before I cause any more damage, I'll see you later. Please check out my next video, and thank you for watching this. It's much appreciated, your support. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.